Hey friends, happy January. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so grateful for you. I hope that you all had a wonderful end of the year, and thank you for those of you who joined my sacred circle. I hope that it was as magical for you as it was for me. And I'm excited to get going on this new year and this new vision for our year. So I hope that you had a chance to check out some of my videos that I've been putting up on my Facebook page about some of the other stuff I have going on in my business this month and some neat classes coming up, and that you have chosen a word for your year. I think it's really important to have a vision of where you're going, and picking a word is a great tool to do that. So today's practice is about alignment. And I think what's really cool is when we choose a word, it gives us sort of a map for the direction in which we want to take our year. And when life shows up and we're asked to choose something, or asked to make a decision, or asked to say yes or to say no, we can come back to that word and ask ourselves, is what I'm about to do going to create the life I want? And I love that so much. And several years ago, I chose the word peace, and it was by far the hardest year of my life. So sometimes when we pick a word, or we have an intention, or we choose something, life has a remarkable way of challenging us. So just know that if your word is something like peace, just be ready. Just be ready, because I do believe the universe will challenge us. And last year, I had a perfect example of this. My year was reverence. I wanted to have deep respect and honor for all beings and all experiences. That was a hard one to swallow, but I think I did it. So alignment, let's talk about alignment a little bit physically. Physically, alignment looks like putting our shape of our body into a certain shape that has integrity. And alignment is thinking about where we are in space physically, and making sure that our knee is not too far forward of our ankle, because that's going to cause a little bit of pain in the knees, and too much over a long period of time can actually damage the tissue in the knees. It's making sure that we're not falling into something just to say we got deeper or to touch the floor. So often I see people, when I was practicing and teaching in a studio, that they would try to get into like triangle pose and just collapse everything just to say they got their hand on the floor. And the good news is nothing happens if we do touch the floor. There's no confetti, there's no celebration, nothing happens. It's okay to not touch the floor. But there's some really cool things that we can do to bring the floor to us and to keep that integrity and alignment in our bodies. Alignment outside of the yoga studio or outside of the yoga space is taking that direction and that purpose that we chose at the beginning of the year. Like, what am I going to work on? Or what direction do I want to take my life this year? And when we're faced with something, a person, an experience, a stressor, a trigger, are we in alignment with wanting to create that what we chose? So this year, my word is refinement. I want to refine all of the goodness that I am and turn it into greatness, and not from an ego sense, but just to take the rough edges. Sometimes I can be a little rough around the edges. And I like to always go back to Patanjali, who wrote the ancient texts of yoga. He says that inside each of our hearts is this beautiful, luminous gem. And refinement to me is taking a polishing cloth and just kind of rubbing off some of the smudges that get on my light, through stress, through pain, through life showing up. And I want to refine that. I want to polish my light off. I want to take some sandpaper and smooth out my edges a bit. And so refinement is going to look like that personally. I'm going to do a lot of personal development, personal work this year. But I'm also going to refine my business and making sure that I'm in alignment with who I am, and sticking to that is going to be the direction I'm going. So with all of that, I want you to have a block, a yoga block. I've got lots of them. If you're local and you want to borrow some, just reach out to me. I literally have over 30 of these in my studio. My studio is closed right now, so I can leave them, a couple of them on my porch. You can swing by and grab them, borrow them for a couple weeks, and then just return them when you're ready. That would be totally cool. And if you're not local, Walmart sells these, Target. You can also get them at Ross or TJ Maxx right now. There's usually a huge fitness section in January. And then I have purchased some on Amazon as well. So lots of places you can get them. This one is a foam one. It also comes cork. Sometimes you can find cork blocks. I think they're a little bit too hard for my bony body. I like this one. It's got a little bit of squishy give, not much, but it supports my body, but it also feels soft when I have to lay on it. So you're going to need one of these, actually two if you have two. If you just have one, that's fine. And I want to start at the top of our mats in a forward fold and have the blocks at the top of your mat in the tallest position. So the blocks have a tall, a medium, and a low at the top. Two of them placed just like that. So I'm going to go slow today as we guide the practice. I guide the practice because we're using tools. Sometimes it can get confusing. So I'll be really clear with my cueing, and take the blocks with you. If you only have one, place it vertical between your feet, just in front of your feet at the top of your mat in forward fold. I'm going to turn my camera off because if you watched my video on Facebook, you know why. I believe so profoundly in this idea of not being visual. All right, beautiful, my friends. Go ahead, get yourself situated. At the top of your mat, blocks are the tallest position. If you don't have blocks, if you have two Amazon boxes that are the same dimensions, you can close up those Amazon boxes and use them somewhat, especially if you fill them with something. You can also use a pillow. You don't need to have a block, but I'm really going to be gearing this practice towards that alignment. And it's a little bit challenging to find the same sensation without the block. But if you don't have them, you don't have them. It's not that big of a deal. So you're going to be in the forward fold. And then place your hands on either the single block that's between your feet-ish or the two blocks, palm down. And so you can see here that the purpose of the block is to bring the floor a little bit higher. For many of us, touching our toes or touching the floor in a forward fold is not accessible. So we bring the floor up and it's accessible. You can also practice this in a chair, same practice, forward fold, hands on the blocks. And just feel that for a moment. Just feel what happens when we provide the body a little bit of support and help to reach those toes. We just brought the floor to us. That's all we did. You might find that after a couple breaths, turning the block to that medium side. So placing it still on the thin side, but turning it one direction. And then it's the medium height. It's not quite as tall as the up and down version, but it's not as flat as it being on its wide side, that flat side. And you'll stay and breathe here. Beautiful, just breathe. And so you might change the block direction again. You might not. And then go ahead and let your hands slip off the blocks, and you'll rise up halfway. Take your chin and jut it slightly forward. Maybe keep your eyes closed here. Just that beautiful halfway lift. And then when you exhale, go ahead and fold and touch the blocks again. And then you'll come up halfway again on your inhale. We're just going to roll through this. Exhale, forward fold. And you'll do that one more time. You'll just come up halfway and then fold. Leave the blocks on the floor. Start to rebuild your spine all the way up to stand. Nice. When you get to the very top, go ahead and exhale. Beautiful. We'll take the arms up high. Get as long as we can be. Beautiful. Let's just hinge over to the right. Just sweep over to the right. Make a little C curve. Come back to center. Over to the left. Beautiful. Come back to center. Go ahead and float the body down into a fold. You don't need to touch the blocks this time because we're going to come up right away, halfway lift, and then fold. Let's rebuild the spine again. Coming up to stand. You get to the top, lower your shoulders as you exhale. Try that whole thing one more time. You'll reach high to the sky. Up and over we go to the right. And back to center. Over to the left. Fantastic. Back to center. And then go ahead and forward fold. Grab both blocks. If you only have one, just grab the one. And then slowly rebuild. If you have two blocks, go ahead and stick one block between the thighs in the skinny side. So we're not going to have it wide. It's going to be skinny side. And so your inner thighs are on the wide place on the block, on the flat part, one on each. And so the block is about 4 inches wide, depth 4 inches thick. And so we are taking and putting the block there. And so the feet might have to come in a little bit. We don't want to put the block against the knee. So it's going to be between the knee and the base of the body in the inner thighs. Toes are forward. And so the block is there. If you have two blocks, take the other block and put it widthwise, like a loaf of bread, in between your hands. If you only have one block, we're going to come through this series a couple times so you can switch where you have the block. So maybe start with it in the legs, and then you'll come up to the hands eventually. And now take your arms above your head, holding the block. And so we're going to come into that extended mountain pose. We're putting a tiny bit of pressure in the block that's between our legs so that it doesn't slip down and fall between our feet. So there's a little bit of tension there. Beautiful. And we're holding the block between our palms, not really gripping it with our fingers, but instead just holding it there between the palms of our hands, widthwise like a loaf of bread. And now let's take that hinged side bend and just see what happens when we have a tool to kind of help us with alignment. So often our arms are open to a V, and so it feels much different than it does when we have this tighter package. You'll come back up to center, hinge over to the left. Fantastic. Come back to center and fold over your legs. Slide that block in your hands to your shins, look forward, halfway lift. Same thing we did, but we're just using the tools now. Forward fold. Rebuild the spine. Get to the top, lower your shoulders. Arms go high. Put a little tension in the block here. Reach up and over to the right. Do you feel how your shoulders feel different when you're tight? Come back to center. Over to the left, arms are opening. We're really coming into this beautiful, more succinct body shape. Come back to center and then forward fold. This time we're just going to kind of roll up slowly. Beautiful. Now the block is going to stay just like it is in your hands. You're going to extend your arms out in front, straight out from the body. Hold the block. It's in its widest place. So the hands are kind of on the heels of that loaf of bread, if you will. Beautiful. And now bend your knees like you're sitting in that imaginary chair. We're going to come into chair pose here. Arms are out in front. Arms are straight. Beautiful. Now drop a little bit more. Do you see how chair pose feels different in the legs when we have this tool between our legs? Now see if you can squeeze into the block just a little bit and feel that. Nice. You'll inhale, arms go high as the legs straighten. And then you'll hinge over again. Take that side bend on your exhale. Come back to center on your inhale. Over to the left we go. Come back to center and forward fold. We're going to try that one more time. And then if you have only one block, you'll switch. So go ahead and roll up slow. Keep coming. Nice. Exhale. Arms go out in front. Put a little tension in the block. Bend your knees. Squeeze the block with your inner thighs. Shift into your heels. Lift your toes. Fantastic. Breathe. Maybe drop an inch. Maybe engage those inner thighs just a little bit more, squeezing into the block. Next, inhale, reach and rise. Arms go high. And then up and over we go to the right. Back to center. To the left. Back to center. And then forward fold. Beautiful. We'll just roll up slowly. If you have one block, go ahead and switch the block from your inner thighs to your hands so that you can experience what this feels like. We're going to do that 2 more times, just as we did. So reach your arms out in front. You'll inhale, straight arms. Exhale, have a seat in that chair. How low can you go? Stay for a breath cycle. Beautiful. Inhale, reach and rise as high as you can. Exhale over to the right. Come back up to center. You'll breathe. Over to the left. Back up to center. And forward folds. Slowly rebuild your spine. Beautiful. Lower your shoulders. Arms go out in front. You'll breathe. Have a seat in the chair. Stay for a breath cycle. Inhale, reach and rise. Exhale over. Come back to center. Over you go to the left. Come on back up to center and forward folds. Go ahead and unslip the block from between your thighs. Release the one in your hands to the ground. Go ahead and keep them at the top of your mat in that highest point. Beautiful. Let's take a halfway lift here. And a forward fold. Beautiful. A halfway lift and a fold. Go ahead and step your right foot all the way back. Bend your left knee and then lower your right knee to the mat, but not drilling directly on the kneecap. I want to kind of shimmy it back just a little bit so that it's more on that attachment from the quad to the knee. So we're on the top of the knee where it attaches to the thigh. And if this still is uncomfortable for your knee, you can grab a blanket or roll your mat up a few times and make this squishy kind of pillow for your knee to be on. And then grab your blocks and just put them about a third of the way down. So your hands, one on each block. If you only have one, just omit this for a moment and you don't need them. So the hands are framing your left leg. Hands are on the block. So we've risen up from the floor. We're not as low as maybe we're accustomed to. And then start to push your hip, your right one, down towards the mat just a little bit, just a tiny bit. So you feel this stretch on the front part of the right leg and into the hip and into the psoas muscle that's in our abdominals. Beautiful. You might have to walk your blocks back a few inches towards your torso. Take a breath in here. You're going to hinge back and straighten your left leg. Let your toes float up towards the ceiling so you can see here. Again, the floor becomes a little bit higher. Our hands are on the blocks. If it's not enough sensation of a back of the knee stretch for the left leg, go ahead and turn the block to the next level down. And maybe you're at the medium. Maybe you turn them all the way down flat like a pancake and they're on that flat side. Either way is fine. Beautiful. And now inhale. Start to bend your left knee, shift forward. Keep your hands on the blocks. Exhale, hinge back. So we've made this a little more accessible. Come forward and hinge back. Play with this just a few more times on your own, just feeling, maybe moving the block to a different level, feeling the sensation as you sink the hips back, as you come forward. What does it feel like to have the floor just a little bit higher? Fantastic. Now the next time your hips are at the back, stay there, stay there. Really reach your toes towards your nose. Breathe. Beautiful. Now go ahead and bend your left knee and come forward. If you only have one block, you can try this. Take your block and place it on the inside of the left foot. It's the only block we're going to need now. Bring your right hand palm face down onto the flat side of that block. So the block should be flat like a pancake. The right palm just smushes into the block. And now turn your heart towards your bent left knee and bring your left arm up. So this is that dragonfly twist that we come to a lot, but you can see by bringing the floor up just a little bit higher, we can have a little bit more opening, and we've taken the balance out of this by keeping our right knee down on the floor. It should feel nice. Beautiful. Bring your left hand back to the mat. Move the block aside. Curl the right toes under. And step your right to meet your left at the top of your mat. We'll come up halfway to find some space, and then we'll fold again. This time the left foot steps way back. We find that long leg as we lower the left knee. Right knee bends. Blocks are about 1/3 of the way down. Maybe they're on the tallest, maybe they're the middle, maybe they're flat. Hands find those blocks. If you don't have two, don't worry about this right now. Just keep your hands on the ground. Take a breath in here. Lower your left hip just a little bit. And when you exhale, hinge back, straighten that right leg. Beautiful. So maybe move the blocks back with you. Stay and just feel this first beautiful stretch. And then let's find the breath here. Inhale, come forward, bend your right knee. Exhale, hinge back. Nice. Come forward, just roll through this. Hinge back. Beautiful. Take a few more of those. Come forward, come back, come forward, sink back. Do it one more time. And now as you sink back, stay, 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 stay. Your toes are reaching back. Beautiful. Now come forward. If you have one block, place it on the inside of that right foot. Left hand finds it, palm face down. Start to turn the heart towards the bent right leg. Reach your right arm up, that beautiful dragonfly twist, which can be much more accessible here because the floor just became closer. Beautiful. Close it up, right hand lowers. Move the block aside. Curl the left toes, and then step forward to the top of your mat. Beautiful. Come up halfway and fold. And slowly begin to rebuild your spine. Bring one block with you. Beautiful. Just one block. We're going to take a giant step back with our left foot. The right knee will bend. And our heart and our belly is going to turn towards that long left side of our mat. Arms are going to open up into a T shape lengthwise along the mat. The block is in your right hand. You're in warrior two, and you're holding on to the block. Just soft grip, but you find warrior two. So the outer edge of the left foot is pressing into the mat It's turned at a diagonal. The right knee is bent. Toes are forward. Beautiful. Warrior 2. Let's reverse our warrior and bring the block up to the sky. Just feel the opening of the side body. Beautiful. Now we're going to unwind from this and place the block on the inside of the right foot, on the longest side. So it's the tallest it can be. We're going to press our palm into the block with the fingers forward. Keep a deep bend in the right knee. This is side angle. We're bringing the floor up. Sometimes we come into this posture and we press our right forearm into our right thigh, but we're going to eliminate that. Our right arm is just going to be skimming the inside of our right leg with our hand on the top of the block. Bring your left arm up towards the ceiling and then reach it over your head with your left bicep by your left ear. So there's this beautiful long diagonal line from the left fingertips through the left side body, down the left leg to the outer edge of the left foot. But the right hand's not drilling into the block, it's just there, holding you up, supporting you. But we've brought the floor about 8 inches taller. So we're not losing the integrity of the pose by collapsing through the right side body. We're not folding forward where we've lost every benefit of the pose. It's as if we're between 2 sheets of glass here, and there's some integrity to where we are in space, and it's beautiful. Now just take your thumb and hold on to the block as we come up. You will inhale, bring your torso up, and straighten your right leg. Your hand is going to be holding, your right hand is going to be holding the block. So the legs will be straight. Right toes are still facing the front of your mat. Left foot hasn't changed at all. Tee out your arms again, lengthwise. And your eyes are forward at your right hand, which is holding the block, the top of the block. Beautiful. Take a big breath in here. When you exhale, like arms of a clock, they will tick-tock down, and the right hand will gently place the block on the inside of the right foot. Right arm is going to remain straight. Palm down on the top of the block, fingers are forward, and then lean the torso back just a little bit. So we're in triangle pose essentially. Your left arm will go up towards the ceiling. For some of us, our eyes are going to remain down at our right hand, especially if we have any sort of pain in the neck. Your eyes might turn and go sideways towards the side that your belly is facing, that left side. It might even tick up towards the left hand, but this is triangle pose. And again, imagine those 2 sheets of glass. We've brought the floor higher, so we're not needing to lean forward in that diagonal space. We are completely aligned in this beautiful angular shape called triangle. Now bring your eyes back to the block, hook the thumb, and slowly rise up. As you do so, turn all 10 toes to the long edge of your mat. Your block is in your right hand. Tee out your arms again. We find this beautiful star shape. Make sure your toes and heels are in a straight line. You'll take a breath in. Hinging from your hip crease, go ahead and fold forward. Place the block in the middle of your stance. Bring the floor up. You can take the heels of both hands and just place them over the top of the block. Fingers drip down it. You come into a fold, but now the floor is higher. If that's too high for you and you're not getting a good sensation, turn the block to that middle, so it's on the longer side instead of the short side. And if that's still not enough for you, go ahead and turn the block flat and place both palms on the flat side of the block, and then shift the weight into the toes and breathe. A wide leg forward fold is often a challenging pose for many people because they don't have the flexibility to really touch the floor. And so we've brought the floor up to you. We're going to take this entire series to the left side at the back of our mat. So go ahead and have your left hand grab the block, bend your knees softly, and slowly start to come up. And then turn your left toes to the back of your mat and find warrior two at the back. So you're looking at your left hand that's holding the block, arms are teed out. Go back to the right foot for a moment. Make sure that the outer edge of the right foot is pressing hard into the mat and the right leg is straight. Left knee is bent, and we find warrior two at the back of our mat. Now start to reach the block up to the sky. Find a little bit of reverse warriors, create some space. And then we're going to tick-tock like a clock. Bring the left hand with the block to the inside of the left foot. Place the palm on the top of the block, fingers towards the toes. So we have to bend a little bit in that left leg to really get there. Right arm goes up to the sky, and then the bicep comes to the right ear as we're in side angle. And I want you to picture for a moment, I'm not a huge fan of mirrors in a yoga practice, but some studios have mirrors. But I want you to picture if you could see your reflection in the mirror. You have this long diagonal line from your right fingertips down your right side body, through the right hip. It's not jutted up, it's smooth down your right leg to that very edge of your right foot. This diagonal line called side angle. Beautiful. Now go ahead and come on up. Use your inhale. Bring your torso up. Straighten your left leg. Block is in your left hand. Tee out your arms again. Look back there. Over your left toes is the block. Arms are long, long, long. Now start to tick-tock over. Bring the block to the inside of your left foot. Palm down. Right arm travels up to the sky, and you've created that angular shape called triangle. Now lean the torso back. Tuck the left cheek under just a little bit. Remember, so often when we come into triangle pose, we think we have to touch the floor. And when we do that, our bodies are usually hinged forward at an angle. That's not the integrity of the pose. You're not in alignment. Having the block to bring the floor to you allows your torso to lean back. And now you're in alignment, and you should be feeling what the pose is intending you to feel. Eyes can be down to the side or up. And now turn your eyes to the block. Grab the block with your left hand and rise. Turn again towards the long edge of your mat. Make sure your feet are in alignment, long line. Take a breath in as the arms tee out. And as you fold, bring the block to the middle of your stance. Again, it's probably going to start on the high end. It might be the medium, but you're going to find this sweet spot by bringing the floor to you. Shift the weight into the toes and breathe. Grab the block with either hand, slowly roll up. And then step, turn and step, left foot to meet the right at the top of your mat, standing. We're going to play with a little bit of balance using the block. So bend your knees enough to where you can just reach down and have the block just in front of the right toes, maybe towards the pinky side of your right foot. It's going to be on the tall side of your block, so make it the tallest it can be. With your right palm pressing onto the top of that block, begin to sweep the left leg back and up. So we're going to be standing on our right leg. The right hand is on the top of the right block that's just outside the baby toes. And now see if you can roll the heart to the left just a bit and bring your left arm to the sky. You'll be in what's called half moon. Wobble, it's okay. This is a really hard posture to come to, and I like the use of a block because it brings the floor higher. So we still have a contact touch point. We're pushing into the block. We're stabilizing as the left leg reaches up and back. Do you feel that? Now lean back just a little bit. Yeah. Take a breath in. Close the left hip, lower the left foot. You'll be in a fold. Go ahead and take the block and move it to the outside of the left foot at the top. Above the left foot, slightly to the left towards the baby toes. Left hand presses down onto the block, fingers forward. Right leg sweeps back and up. Now turn your heart to the right. Reach your right arm up to the sky. It's a half moon. Push into the block. Find that opposing action. This is a really hard posture to come to without touching the floor. Sometimes we work our balance here, but when we're here and we're steady, we're in alignment. We're not collapsing. Take a breath in. Close everything up, and you're in a fold. Just a couple more standing postures, then we're going to take the block to the mat. Go ahead and step your right foot back and place the block on the inside of the left foot. Hips are going to stay square to the front of the mat. Block is on its tall edge on the inside of the left foot. Hands come to your hips. Make sure that your belly button and your heart is facing the top of your mat and your hips are square. So they're both, one's not jutting front, is what square means. Now, take your right arm and reach it out in front like you're shaking my hand. Take a breath in. Hinge from your hip crease and lower the right hand to the block. Palm down, fingers forward. Turn your heart to the left. Left arm rises to the sky, revolved pyramid, a nearly impossible posture for most people without bringing the floor a little higher. Now pull your left hip back just a little bit. Find the depth. Beautiful. Bring your nose back towards your left toes and slowly come on up. Step your feet together again and we'll switch sides. Left foot steps way back. Block goes to the inside of the right foot. Hands find the hips just to make sure we're square to the front. Then left arm sweeps out in front, thumb up like you're shaking my hand. You take a breath in. Lower the left hand onto the block. Turn your heart to the right. Reach your arm up. See if both arms can straighten. Do you feel that? Feel the space here. Beautiful. Draw the right hip back. It wants to come forward. Just feel it. The block really helps us feel sensation here. Take a breath in. Right hand comes back down. We step both feet forward. And go ahead and have a seat on the mat. Bring the soles of your feet to touch and make sure that they're pretty far away from you. So we've created that diamond shape that we come to so often. Place the block, the lengthwise, the tall way, on top of your feet, like it's inside the pages of that book there. You're going to have to hold on to it. So I like to wrap my thumb on the side closest to my torso and my fingers come around it. I'm just holding it there. Take a big breath in and aim your forehead so that it touches the block. Round the spine and get your forehead to make contact with the block. If that doesn't work, stack your fists on top of the block or use your other block to make it higher. We'll be here for some time, so I want you to use your breath here. After about 3 to 5 breaths, we typically can lower the block to the next level until we reach the point that we call our edge, and we're no longer able to go any deeper. But we use the block to help facilitate that process rather than struggling to get there. And breathe. And you might make an adjustment to the block. Lowering it. And maybe lowering it again. And again. And then slowly come on up, grab the block, and go ahead and come on down to your back. Bend your knees. When you get there, feet will be on the floor. Knees are going to be up towards the ceiling. And then just lift your hips enough to where you can lay the block underneath your sacrum widthwise on your mat like a loaf of bread. So it's going to be at the flattest point, that flat side. So your sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of your spine, is going to be where the block is. It's not on your spine. It's below your spine on your hips, but not all the way down onto your glutes, sort of in between there. So we're in bridge pose. This is a familiar one, but with the block, there's no work. We just get the benefit. Arms will either reach around and kind of hold that block, or you can just have your arms down by your side. Start to close your eyes. And just notice how you feel with having a practice that has a little bit more focus to it, kind of understanding where we are in space by using a tool, which I think tools should be used in all aspects of our life. There are times when we need a little assistance. It's not that we aren't flexible or aren't good enough. Sometimes these tools really keep us in check. They help us to feel and to understand things from a new perspective. And these tools cannot just be found on the yoga mat, but I use a tool like a planner. I use a paper and pencil. Even though I know what I'm doing most days, I still rely on this tool to keep me grounded and organized and focused. That's where I jot down my ideas, and that helps me to not forget things. It's a tool that helps me. Props in a yoga practice are much the same. And if you want to play with finding the block to be of use in a different kind of way, just follow along. If you like how this feels, stay here. And then wrap your hands around the block to hold it steady. Begin to elevate your legs up towards the ceiling. Don't be afraid. It's really easy with the block underneath you. The block's holding you up. The block's doing the work. Legs go up to the sky, straightish. And we feel this draining, this letting go. This mimics the posture, legs up the wall. This also is a version of shoulder stand, with the legs up and the block holding the hips up. We don't have to put any effort into this. And it can be beautiful and restorative. And then slowly Start to come on down if your legs are up. You'll just find your feet on the mat and just lift the hips up just enough to push the block aside. Find yourself in the final pose of the practice, feeling clear, I hope. Feeling as though the practice made sense, that you were understanding where you are in space and feeling sensations perhaps different than you had when we don't bring the ceiling a little closer. And that's the beauty of a tool. And as you finish up your practice in your own time, remember that having a direction for our lives, whether that is in your words, a goal, a resolution, an intention, a direction, a word, it's really important as we look to find that vision for our life and to be in alignment with that vision each and every day through our thoughts and our words and our actions. Have a beautiful rest of your practice, soaking in the benefits of stillness. I'll see you really soon. Blessings to you and Happy New Year.